Hi, this is my review of the Rogers Diffusion of Innovation model. And here we go. There's lots to talk about. So the model basically goes through five processes that need to occur in order to be completed, if you will. I'm going to go over these really quickly because there's lots of application to discuss. So knowledge is obviously the parties and stakeholders all knowing about whatever the thing is that's going to be implemented, educating those that need to be educated about whatever it is, making sure administrators and teachers, for instance, know what's going on and what they need to do. Persuasion, this is an interesting step because this is where those folks that need to be persuaded get persuaded. There are different steps and things that contribute to persuasion. I have them listed here: relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, trialability, and observability. So all those take a hand in whether or not a group or group members are persuaded to do the thing, the activity, or whatever it is. Then there's the decision stage. This is adoption and rejection. It's not exclusive. You can reject something at first that can be later adopted. Maybe it was the wrong time, or maybe some things had to get tweaked first. Once rejection occurs, it's not impossible to be adopted later on. Implementation. This is obviously where you implement whatever the process is that you're wanting to try out or the idea is. And then confirmation is where you look at data and look at growth and see did you get the results that you were hoping from the program or whatever it is? Did you were the parties involved? Were the stakeholders pleased? Those kinds of things. So variables, there are many variables that determine the rate of adoption. I just listed a few here. Communication, this is a big one that kind of spoke to me. If the lines of communication aren't open or aren't properly handled, this can definitely change the rate or slow the rate of an adopted idea. The social system, some societies are much more cultural, I would say, than American societies, and have to go through certain systems of politeness, for instance. It wouldn't be uncharacteristic of an American to say, hey, let's try this. Whereas in other societies, there, I think, are certain traditions and things that have to be honored before you can start discussing implementation of new ideas. Perceived attributes. What do folks already think about this system or this program? Have they heard about it? Did they hear it was successful? Did they hear it was not? So there were different things that we looked at in regards to application of Rogers. So the education of Roma children in Germany I thought was really interesting. I really didn't know anything about it. And so basically decision makers had to figure out a way to show Roma families that they could be trusted in order to educate the Roma children, and that the cultural differences would be honored because they were indeed in Germany. And really, a lot of things had to happen. If you apply Rogers' model, first persuasion, that was a big part of this. They had to kind of show the Roma folks that they could be trusted. And then they had to have them make the decision to send their children to the schools. And then they had to implement it and actually do what they said that they were going to do. And if they made a decision to implement programs that Roma families would benefit from, then they had to do what they said that they were going to do. So that was a big part of it as well. For the faculty adoption from the web-based distance education from the China Agricultural University, basically many of the faculty were apprehensive about doing distance education, and they found through their study and application of Rogers' model that a lot of this apprehension was connected to how many years of teaching experience the faculty members had, which totally makes sense. And so in this case, they went from knowledge of something to making a decision, and the decision whether or not to do distance education. Pretty simple. So in my own life, the application of Rogers' model, I think about learning focus a lot. Learning focus is this system of lesson planning and looking at the pieces of lesson planning such as graphic organizers, vocabulary, summarizing strategies, all the parts of lesson planning, and really dissecting them and looking at research-based strategies that work with students, and it's definitely solid stuff. We have been rolling it out in Brunswick County probably for 5 or 6 years, 5 years maybe, and it started when I was in the classroom, and now I am a coach, and so I'm a proponent of it. I should be if I wasn't before, right? Excuse me. But it is great. How it was implemented and rolled out was kind of interesting, and I think there were some good and bad that came out of it. So for the knowledge piece, a lot of people didn't know anything about learning focus. Excuse me, when it was implemented. Now they do, and so now when new people come in or hear, oh, you're going to do learning focus training or whatever, they sort of have this, oh, I don't know, I hear it's a lot, or I don't know about that. My buddy next door to me in the classroom, he did it and he really didn't find it very helpful, or so-and-so does it and she loves it. So there are definitely some preconceived notions at this point. And we kind of continuously roll it out so that new teachers are able to kind of get in on that training. So, persuasion. There are a lot of things going on with the persuasion. Some schools, the administrators are saying, you need to do this. You will do lesson planning this way. Whereas others are saying, if this is something that you enjoy, go ahead and do it this way because it is research-based and effective. So it kind of depends on the school. As a county, we're leaving it up to the principals to make the decision, as we as coaches are just support and train. Some of us are trained. I'm trained in training if need be. And I go through and I do cohorts of teachers that really want to delve more into it. So the decision, adoption or rejection, we as a district have adopted it. Schools can't really reject it because as a district we have adopted it. Teachers individually can reject it, I guess, if they have the option within their school, but if they don't, then they're going to be missing out on some basic knowledge that everyone else will have and they won't. So it's just kind of one of those things. Implementation. This is what's been interesting in terms of the training and such. We have had cohorts of people do the training every year, like say 2 people from each school kind of thing. But what they do when they get back to the school has been different. There hasn't been consistency. Some principals are having those people present to the staff. Some people are saying it's too new. They don't know a lot about it yet, so let's not have them present. So that's the part that has been really disconnected. That really could be better. And then confirmation. I cannot say that we're ready for that stage yet. We don't have a lot of data to pull from it. Definitely things have improved. Test scores have improved, things like that. Lesson planning has improved. Teachers that use it really enjoy it, so that's an improvement. And the number of teachers that are accepting learning focused ideas and lesson plans are increasing, so that's an improvement. But I don't know that we're ready to determine yet if this program has been successful. So that's where we're at. It's kind of interesting to see and to decide whether or not this was the right implementation. If I were to stop and ask questions at two places, I would ask why we chose to do like 2 teachers per year per school in training, and also why the decision was that principals could decide what those teachers came back to the schools with and did. Because like I said, I think there's some disconnect there, and Rogers' model spells it out for us. Here's my references. Thanks. Have a great day. See you in class.